Okay, at the end of the last video, we had just finished creating our directory handler, so now we have the outputs of, we can get the file type of our photo, how many files there are in a folder, and the specific directory of it. Well, what we're going to do is we're going to use a second JavaScript file, much in the same way as the first, to do special substring handling to recreate our image names and then scrub through all those photos. I am going to create a counter. I'm going to do 1, 1. And I'm going to pass that metro message. So I'm going to have a toggle, metro 30. The metro again is very important, so we're going to make that bigger. Okay, and we plug that in there. And what we need to do now is we want the length of our counter to be the same size as the amount of files that we have. So all we need to do is every time that we update number of files, we're also going to update this. I'm going to -1 because counter always references from 1 as well, and we want that to match our number of files. Plug that in, plug that in. I'm also going to set up something called rbang, so that every single time we open up a new photo, or open up a new file, we just reset the counter so it doesn't start halfway through an image sequence. Plug that into the second one. So now every time that file is picked, the counter will update with its maximum number of files, and it will also start playing again from, well, that's not going to be a bang, that's going to be a 0. It's going to start playing from the first frame again. So that's just resetting the counter. Now, hopefully, if I have thought this through, if I click this and click there, and then run the metro, it gets very angry with me. Oh, I think putting the JavaScript file in a subset has just not enjoyed it at all. Yeah, so if I look at this encapsulated program here, JavaScript 2 just doesn't exist. Literally just copy it all and paste it in, and then save it over the top. There's probably an easier way to do this as well, but who knows? Oh, I think I've broken something. Oh dear. It's all gone wrong, guys. Oh dear. It has deleted our directory handler. That is probably not a good thing. Luckily, I came prepared. So now, all things going smoothly, ha ha, because that's worked so well before. Pick the image sequence, pick the file, and it does not work. Error loading file. Oh, I need to start the metro as well. Yeah, so now you'll see the counter adding up to the maximum number of files, which in this one is 293, and looping through it. So now we have a counter that is able to access any file that we want in our image sequence. I'll just make that because that's always going to be annoying. So, what we sorry, you just need to let me work out where we were, because obviously the crashing has thrown me off. Ah, yes, okay. So I'm going to save this just in case it crashes again. So now we have a counter, the number of files coming out of it. I'm going to add an integer box here just so we can visualize that counter in case we do want to randomly access. And then we're also going to need our directory path and our file type down here, because we're going to send these into JavaScript as a full, so we don't need to do as much manipulation. So I'm going to pack a message together that's got a string, a number, another string, and another string. Directory path is going to be our first, our integer is going to be our second, and our file type is going to be our last. Now the third one like when I was explaining in the introduction, this is going to be our separator. With even more delicate substring operation in JavaScript, this would be automatable as well, but it's just far too much hassle to work out the code for that when it's one button in Max. So I am going to create a period message, a dash message, and an underscore message, because those are the three possible separators that you're realistically going to have in your message. So now when you load an image, you can see frame dash 0008, etc. I know that my separator is a dash, so I'm going to select that. I'm going to prepend folder because that's just the name of the function I'm going to use inside JavaScript. And then I'm going to JS lines, JS folder thingy .js, open that up. Then I'm going to save that into our directory and pray that Max doesn't crash on me again. This is going to be a bit heavier on the JavaScript because we're doing slightly more with it. I'm going to make this full screen on the right, and we're going to have function folder, and that's going to receive A, B, C, and D because we're bringing in 4 variables, 1, 2, 3, 4. And then we're going to have variable myString is equal to A. So our file name, we're going to have sequence length, var sequence length is equal to B. The number of files, we're going to have my separator is equal to C, a dash, a space, a dash, a dot, or an underscore. We're going to have var my file name type is equal to D. So what type of image is it we're working with? Similar to the last, all this string information is going to be symboled, so it's going to have speech marks. So we need to remove the speech from the end because we don't want it to that to mess with our variables. We're going to do length equals to myString dot length. Var myString equals myString dot substring 0 length. So in almost the exact opposite of what we did in the first JavaScript file, this section of code is going to remove it and then reconstruct it with the number changed so it works for us. So we're going to do num slash. It's very similar in the start to what we did in the last one. My string dot split. I'm going to use the slash to split it. In fact, you know what I'm going to do? I'm just going to copy the information. So it's literally the exact same as last time. But this time we're going to do remove file type equals my file name dot substring my file name dot last index off. Now this is where it gets a bit stranger. So before we can start doing all the reconstruction, we need to completely deconstruct. So I'm going to remove the file type here. Last index off looks through my file name and sees where there's a period, and then it removes it. So remove file type, like we did up here, removes the image type from the end. +1 also removes the period. And then we're going to update my file name to match that. My file name dot substring. Start from the first one, and then we're going to do my file name dot length, take away, remove file type dot length -1. So now we have worked out how many slashes are in the directory, removed or highlighted the last section here, which is our file name, We're then removing the image type from the end of that. So for example, this would be file underscore 111.png. And now from here we are left with file underscore 111. The takeaway one removes our period. We're there going to var remove numbers. That is my file name dot substring, my file name dot last index of, my separator +1. So exactly the same as before, but instead of removing the file type, we're going to remove all the number, or work out the length of the numbers after the separator we defined and the last of it. So if you have a file name that was, say, picture underscore 123.png, it would then specifically look at the underscore 123 section. So this returns the length of the numbers in file name. And this is important because we need to repad the numbers at the end, and we're going to have a function that uses remove numbers to work that out. And then finally, you guessed it, my file name is equal to my file name dot substring 0, my file name dot length, take away remove nums dot length, take away 1. So we also remove the separator. Redefines file name as file name. So it's going to look like file. And the -1 obviously removes the underscore that we have, or whatever the separator is. So to test that, we're going to outlet 0 my file name. And the max console here is going to kick up a storm, but we're just using it for testing. So I'm going to go documents, image sequence, opening file type, select one. You see that there is my file name. I've done the exact same again. I have missed out the capital. So 16, my file name, my file name. Save. Start banging. And what was the separator? It is a dash. Now, why isn't this working? Now this is strange because it should be working. Let's just make sure that all of these are outputting the right type when they bang. Right, so the file path isn't outputting anything properly. Let's have a look why. Stupid capitals. You can see that it's split everything off. We have just our file name header again. So now the second part of it is we're going to re-add in the numbers and the file type, but we're going to add it into this number being passed in by the counter is what it's trying to load. So back into our JavaScript file. We're going to remove this, and we know that works, so we are going to separate it off. I'm just going to use that nice little code breaker that I had again. And in this one, we are going to num zeros. So we're going to use a new function called number of zeros. So what we have now is we have just our file name. We need to add back in our separator, so it's going to be file name separator numbers file type. That's what we need to create. So we know the number we want to make because that's coming in from our counter, but we need to pad it to make sure that if counter is displaying 1, it's actually reading like 001 or 00001, depending on what the file is actually called. So we are going to do variable num zeros is equal to remove nums dot length. And this is going to just give us the amount of numbers that are at the end of the file name. We're then going to recreate the image number. We're going to do something called zero pad, which we're about to make the function for. We're going to pass it the square and the sequence length, so how many there are in total, and the num zeros. Down here we're going to make function zero pad number and then the places. So variable 0 is going to equal places, take away number dot to string plus 1. And then we're going to return array plus 0 greater than and 0 dot join. So what this is actually going to do is it is going to create an array from 0 to however many numbers there are, and then pad them all with 0 to make sure it's the right length. So let's say we're passing in a 3-digit number or a 4-digit number. It's actually going to create numbers like this all the way up to 0, 1, 2, 3 or 0, 1, 2, 4, depending on how many numbers we actually have. And then it's going to return that, and we access that array depending on the number that we're actually looking for. So when it returns the array, it's just saying actually this is the number that we're using here. I hope that made sense because it's quite a confusing topic. Close our curly brackets so that function's done. So now we have the recreated file number. Next thing we need to do is complete file name. And we're going to join my file name with my separator with the image number add back in our period, and then add together for my file type. So all things going smoothly, we should now have an updating file name that is output by our JavaScript. So save it. Syntax error. So I have made a mistake in line 41. 41 is down here. Array plus 0 greater than 0. I missed out the 0, so basically I didn't set a lower value to our array. So now save it, should be compiled fine. So we pick it, start our metro, and you'll see here that the file name ticks up, but it's not being padded properly. So let me just double check it. Oh, in here, it needs to be nums dot length. So we didn't set a maximum to our array there either. So now if you do it, you'll see that frame is padded to the same amount as our source name. And we're almost there. The last thing we need to do is now recreate the full file name again using the full directory again, using the information we have from the directory we're passing in. So the final step is my truncated string is equal to my string dot substring 0 my string dot length, take away complete file name dot length. So we're removing the random frame-008.png or whatever we picked from the first image, or from the first file. And then we are going to do outlet 0, my truncated string plus complete file name. Spell that right. And it should be, touch wood, fingers crossed, as simple as that. Select our image, start a counter, line 36. Oh, outlet. Compile it, no errors, start it. You now see that we are getting a full string again. That is the full file name of exactly the file that we want to be referencing at the moment, up to the maximum of the counter. Fantastic. Stop the metro. The last thing we need to do is put all of that into a movie folder. So once more, I'm not going to encapsulate this because it will just cause issues again like it did last time. We're going to do jit.qt.movie. I'm going to prepend read because we need the movie file to read it. And movie will also be able to handle folder being a symbol rather than, so it needs the speech marks, which is great. We are also going to pass it our metro because we need to update it, and we're going to have jit.window. I'm just going to make this 500 by 500, so it's, I'm also going to make it a P window because I hate the floating thing when I'm recording. So in the stage, the 1, 2, 3 is literally, turn it down my screen brightness, 1, 2. Oh, I'm pushing all the wrong buttons right now. So stages 1, 2, 3, we pick our file. I am going to go documents, image sequence, PNG, opening time lapse, select it, start our metro, select our spacer, and there you go. And I output this in JPEG as well as PNG just to show you how it works. So I'm going to bang it. I'm going to go up one level. I'm going to select the JPEG version. I'm going to put the spacing, and you can see it automatically updates the file name, file type. So all you need to do is pick your file, start the metro, and select your separator, and it will do the rest of the work for you. You're going to get loads of errors in here when you're fiddling between the two, but just ignore everything in here until you've completed stage 1, 2, and 3. And that is how we make a super cool JavaScript file reader. And if I disconnect the metro from here, we can then manually have control over the counter. But you just need to watch, because instead of using this here to set the counter limit, you could use that to set the max limit on this, so we can scroll through it, because you can see here these don't actually exist, so it's just having a bad time. And there we go, that is the JavaScript image sequence file player.